stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good to see everyone. Welcome back. School has started. You guys are just so excited.
Yeah.
Mel, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Brumbaugh?
Here.
Mr. Basic? Mrs. Fenstermaker?
Here.
Mrs. Gill?
Here.
Mrs. Clyde?
Here.
Mrs. Sherry?
I'll make a motion to excuse Haley and Tyler, or Mike.
Mike and Haley.
Yeah.
Thank you. Is there a second? I'll second.
Mr. Brumbaugh?
Yes.
Mrs. Fenstermaker?
Yes.
Mrs. Gill?
Yes.
Mrs. Clyde?
Yes.
Okay, on pages 1 through 5, you have the minutes from August 12th.
Make a motion to approve the August 12th, 2024 minutes.
Second. Any further discussion or questions? Hearing none, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Brumbaugh?
Yes.
Mrs. Gill?
Yes.
Mrs. Fenstermaker?
Yes.
Mrs. Clyde?
Yes.
And on pages 6 through 12, we have the bank reconciliation for July.
I'll make a motion to approve the July bank reconciliation.
I'll second. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Brumbaugh?
Yes.
Mrs. Clyde?
Yes.
Mrs. Fenstermaker?
Yes.
Mrs. Gill?
Yes. And on pages 13 through 17, we have the July 2024 vouchers.
Make a motion to pay the July 2024 vouchers.
Yes, second.
Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, would you please call the roll?
Mrs. Fenstermaker?
Yes.
Mrs. Gill?
Yes.
Mr. Brumbaugh?
Yes.
Mrs. Clyde?
Yes.
And on pages 18 through 20, we have the July 2024 gas and ERUs.
I'll make a motion to approve the July 2024 gas expenses.
I'll second. Any discussion or questions? Hearing none, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Brumbaugh?
Yes.
Mrs. Clyde?
Yes.
Mrs. Fenstermaker?
Yes.
Mrs. Gill?
Yes. And I should have mentioned Greg is out this evening. He and Haley both have seniors playing tonight. So. We have a couple visitors this evening. Philip Regal from the prosecutor's office, who is running for judge. So I'll turn it over to you.
Okay. Thank you. Good evening, I guess.
Yeah.
Usually sit, so I don't know how you do it.
Wherever you're comfortable with.
All right. Thanks for just a couple minutes. I won't take much of your time. I'm Philip Regal. I'm county prosecutor. I'm running for a common police court judge. There's an opening of a judge who cannot run again because he's term limited out, aged out. So I'm running for that open seat. I certainly would appreciate your support. A little about me. I'm from Hancock County. My family's been here since a land grant from the War of 1812. So, and I went about 3 miles from where the grant was given. So generally, my family's been here a long time. I have a wonderful wife, 4 kids, 3 of them who are still school age, 12 and 7. I coach soccer, I coach basketball, I help started like a community youth group in our area, that sort of thing. Done all that. I was county commissioner for 10 years, or approximately 10 years, and I was county prosecutor for the last 8. So commissioner 10, prosecutor 8, and then running for judge. I'm a Republican. I'll be nonpartisan on the ballot, but I had the Republican. I went through the Republican primary and was in the nominee for the Republican Party. As prosecutor, I think a couple things are important. One, I was the first prosecutor in Northwest Ohio, and one of the first in the state that started charging drug dealers with involuntary manslaughter for dealing drugs that caused the death of somebody or a user. Right? So obviously they're not the user obviously had part in that, but that dealer deserved serious consequences as well. So I was the first prosecutor in Northwest Ohio and one in the state that did that. So I think that's gives a little idea of how I see things. I've also in the last 10 months gotten 2 life without parole sentences, one for aggravated murder charge and one for a child rapist. And so it's been a long time since we've gotten those types of sentences, but they were both very deserved. And but again, I think those things are all important. And I think the other thing that just, I guess, is important is I've been, through some tough things. I've been through the flood, 2007 as commissioner, 8 months in the 2007 flood. I've been through the financial crisis, 2008, 2009 financial crisis, been through the pandemic, and through it all, been able to, in different roles, lead, I think, with a steady hand, a steady head, and help us get through those pretty difficult things. I try to do the same thing on cases in terms of not, get too high, too low. You're trying to get to a result, the best result that you possibly can through a thing, through the case. Some things you wish you got better results from, but bottom line is you're going through that with a process the best you can. And I think that I've been able to do that and shown a good temperament that would be important going into the future. I'd also, I guess, say common police court judge is one of the most important offices in our community. I mean, it's a huge role in the criminal justice system, but it's an important role in terms of how we for budgeting, in terms of how we spend money, all those sorts of things. It's really, really important. It's a lot of power in common police court judge, and so I believe, and I think most people who know me would ask me or would agree, I try to bring humility wherever I go. I'm not trying to throw my weight around or anything like that. I mean, I try to come in with a sensible head and try to work with people. I think most people would say that I'm a consensus builder trying to work through things. You can't get through 2007 flood or these other things without working together with a lot of people. I think that I have a pretty good record of that. I think that's very important in that role. So, obviously, we're coming up to an election. I would really appreciate support for my candidacy for that. Like I said, I'm a local guy. I've been here. I pledge to you that, a top priority for me is trying to keep our community safe, and that's something that I don't take lightly. Take that as important for my role as prosecutor and also as judge. It's a little bit different, obviously, but it's really important. And so I pledge to you that I would not forget that, and remember that if I'm successful in this, that I will do my best to what I can do to try to keep our community safe. So I certainly would answer any questions if anybody had any questions. I don't want to take up much of your time.
So we have a youth committee group, and that's why you see these
Great.
students here. There's 6 of them? Yep. And they meet monthly at the school and come and attend our meetings and do some community service and things like that. So now is your opportunity. Do you have questions? You may get to say, I met the judge. Don't get in trouble. Do you have any questions?
No.
And now, Rob,
That's
you
really
get to
cool.
tell us stories. Come on.
I have a question.
Sure.
Maybe they haven't thought this far since they're in high school. What's your education to be where you're at now?
Okay, good question.
Since
So,
you're interested in
Government.
Yeah.
government.
So obviously graduated from high school, Riverdale, went to the University of Findlay, got a bachelor's degree in comprehensive social studies. So I was actually a history and government teacher for a year and did coaching and kind of things like that for a year. Went back to law school at the University of Toledo, got a law degree, and then from the University of Toledo, which is actually called a Juris Doctorate, which nobody calls lawyers doctors, but we're technically doctors. So I joke with my kids and say, you can call me Dr. Phil, but so then after you get your Juris Doctorate, then you can sit for what's called the bar examination, which is the examination for all attorneys in the state to try to basically, you have to pass it to become an attorney in the state. There's other ways, but I mean generally you have to pass the bar to become an attorney. And so I did that right after the July after I got through law school in 2004, and then They make us do education all the time, right, Rob? We're always taking classes for everything else, whether, you know, if you're a cop, firefighter, lawyer, medical, you know, doctor, any of that sort of thing, you're taking, you know, some sort of what we call CLEs, continuing legal education, all the time. So every 2 years you got to have 24 plus hours of, and some of them have to be in certain things. Anyways, bottom line is you're always going to be learning. So in most of these professions, you're always going to keep learning different, you know, different things, taking new courses, things like that, to keep your skills sharp. So.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anything else? Okay.
Thank you for stopping out.
Thank
Yep, thank you. Appreciate it. Good to see you all tonight. And I've got other meetings to try to get to, if that's all right. I don't want to be rude.
All right.
Thank you.
Oh, I will say this. Please don't blame me for my brother, who is in town every day, basically, because he's the post office guy.
Now
Yes,
we're
yes, Ryan is my brother. So you see him, you say, "Wow, the guy looks an awful lot like the guy running for judge." Yeah, he does look a lot like the guy running for judge.
Super sweet.
He is nice, but don't blame me if he did, if he gave you the wrong stamp or something.
I will tell him that.
No, he's funny. He is my younger brother. I admit he's a few years younger than me.
That's great. How many siblings do you have?
We have there's three brothers.
Oh, wow.
So our middle brother's in Arizona.
Oh, okay.
So we both stayed around. The other one
left.
fled west.
It's a great place to visit in the winter.
It is a great place to visit in the winter. I wouldn't want to live there. I was just talking to my brother Kevin last night. They've had over 100 days now in a row of 100 degrees or higher. 100 days in a row. That is crazy. Anyway.
Thank you. Thank you.
Nice talking to you all. Thank you. Have a good evening. Nice to meet you guys. Good luck.
Nice meeting you.
Yep. If you ever have questions, call the prosecutor's office and give you some advice or something.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Mike had PMP.
I can do it real quick if you want me
Perfect.
to, okay,
Perfect.
because I was there. Just real quick, Jeremy had reported, that there were 27 calls, which was an increase, last month. This was from, what meeting was this from, in August?
It was August
So that would have been
20th.
July, right? That you would have said that? for-
Yeah, it would have been July.
July, yeah.
27?
Yeah, it was in July, so they reported the squads were present at the Cookie Festival and also during the 5K run. Reported that Ben has returned to work and he's now back to full-time this week and is doing well. Let's see here. Also, Jeremy had said something to us at the meeting. They're not going to hold the haunted house this year, so I don't know if he's come down here and talked to you about that, just because it's on a weekday. He said he would come, next time around to the council, and maybe talk about it for next year. They just can't get it together within that short of period of time during the week. So I said I would let the council know. And basically that was it for that meeting. It was a short meeting.
Okay, thank you. Do you have the fire as well?
Yes, I do.
All right.
Let me see here. It's hard to work. I just kind of get off my phone. Okay, the chief and Anna reported that they had 8 runs and 3 were mutual aid for July. They do have a new member update. Rick Abbott was voted on, and Cody Kimball was sent for a background check at that time. They did hear from the Ohio First Responders Grant. They were awarded money for hoses and CSBA gear. Also, just kind of going through it real quick. Sam has is working on obtaining quotes for awarded equipment, must obtain 3 quotes for each item listed on the award before selecting the vendor. Fire truck is also estimated to be delivered April or May now of 2025. And production will start here in November or December of 2024, and there really no new updates on that. And generator has been replaced, repaired, issue is closed. Let's see here. They did say the 140th year celebration was held on July 21st from 6 to 8. They did have cake and ice cream, and they served over 100 attendees. Let's see here. The Millstream Speedway, they are taking a truck for August 25th and October 5th race at the Millstream Speedway. Hose testing hasn't started yet, but it will be, and I think really that's about it.
Thank you.
Yep, you're
Any
welcome.
questions?
I had one on the generator. Can they, whoever installed it or, can do like an annual or biannual inspection on it or something that, just as like a preventative maintenance thing?
I think that's something that, Greg, was handling, so.
I know the person who was doing it, yeah, he can do them manually. I know that they will, I have one, so they want you to do them manually, but I'll bring that up to the board and make sure that, it's something that should be done. It's not really expensive, it's about $200 a year to do that,
Yeah,
to
it's
do
not
that,
bad.
yeah. So, it's the same person that, that's how much I know, but I will say something to Greg and make sure that it is, done, so, okay.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
And Beth, you have the finance
Oh.
minutes on page 21.
Yes. 1 second. Okay, this is for the minutes from the Wednesday, August 21st meeting. We also discussed the 5-year renewal of the Hancock County's local government funding process. A motion was made to accept the 5-year renewal. We also discussed the spousal carve-out resolution going forward in the medical insurance benefit package to future employees that take insurance. I think we're going to vote on that tonight. And then we also discussed the resolution accepting rates for 2025, which is done annually. The committee also discussed upcoming steps and processes for the 60 by 90 community center building. We discussed the grant on what it will cover and what it won't. The committee decided on making a capital plan for the building, which will include underground plumbing infrastructure. And the committee discussed finances, final design when awarded to contractor and utilities. We also discussed the utility clerk's job review. I think we'll talk about that today as well. Recommendation was set at $17.75 for the utility clerk, and it will be brought to council. And that's about it.
I'll make a motion to approve the finance meeting minutes.
Second. Any questions or discussion on the minutes? If not, would you call the roll now?
Mr. Brumbaugh?
Yes.
Mrs. Fenstermaker?
Yes.
Mrs. Gill?
Yes.
Mrs. Klein?
Yes. I'll make a motion to approve Haley's increase to $17.75.
Second. Any further discussion on that? If not, would you call the roll on that, please?
Mr. Brumbaugh?
Yes.
Mrs. Fenstermaker?
Yes.
Mrs. Gill?
Yes.
Mrs. Klein?
Yes.
And then do we need one when there was a motion to accept that 5-year renewal?
No, a resolution will.
Okay.
Take care of that.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Thanks, Beth. Tyler, planning and zoning.
Yes, we had our meeting back on August 21st. We had no visitors that night. Discussed some of the parking lot changes. We received some info like very late that day. Didn't really have a chance to look at them. I know Greg is taking the lead on handling that with Van Horn and working on it. The staff parking lot, we discussed that. There was a couple recommended changes to it, and there'll be some revisions forthcoming for it at our hopefully our meeting this month. There was a proposed project committee to help with projects just that are involving village-owned property. I did not have the write-up, I printed it off and left it at home, so I had to circulate it after. And, via email, the group all concurred it was, acceptable. I was able to read it off that night from my phone, but I didn't have it, so I didn't think it was appropriate to vote on it. We'll need a recommendation for that after these minutes. Had a discussion on the vacant property on Main Street, the old VFW, and it's just starting to be maybe a potential public health and safety issue. That believe people may be living inside, with a collapsed roof. And it's not secured, obviously, from the outside to the public, and, contact with the owner from a lot of people has been hard to come by. So we're gonna look at something moving forward with that, and what can be done, can start, idea brought it up a little bit. So what we can do with it, and then we adjourned it at 7:30, well, after 7:30.
I'll make the motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second.
Any discussion or questions? Would you please call the roll?
Mr. Brumbaugh?
Yes.
Mrs. Gill?
Yes.
Mrs. Fenstermaker?
Yes.
Mrs. Clyde?
Yes. I'll also make the motion to approve the project committee recommendation.
I'll second.
Any questions or discussion on that? Would you call the roll then, please?
Mr. Brumbaugh?
Yes.
Mrs. Gill?
Yes.
Mrs. Fenstermaker?
Yes.
Mrs. Clyde?
Yes.
And if I recall, that is asking for 2 members of council.
Yep.
And Beth, would you mind serving on that? And Jamie?
Sure.
Okay, thank you, appreciate it. And Tyler is still basically the head of that committee, so.
That won't require a lot of involvement. We'll schedule meetings as needed, not like a running
Okay.
meeting. Especially for the community center, things will pick up maybe a little this fall and then kind of slow down and then be more involved spring and summer of next year for sure. But we're not gonna have a ton of projects throughout our village in the forefront, so.
Thank you.
Yep.
Haley had Parks and Recs on pages 22 and 23. I don't know, Tyler, you want to go through any of that for us?
Yeah, I can help with that. We met with Kleinfelder for a good bit of that meeting. We went over a lot of things for that potential grant that's due in November, and what we thought was best at the, prioritizing the dollars. They put together a budget. Some of these numbers we kind of all thought were pretty inflated, like cost, kind of look at it and you're like, man, why does that cost that much? But it's just a budget, and the better plan we have is more likely we'll get serious consideration. So we looked at improving mainly the very front of the park, thought it'd have the biggest impact and bang for a buck, and that involves creating more parking at the very front, eliminating the tennis court, basketball court, more parking, and then a road that would go through kind of close to where the tennis court is now and towards the basketball hoop and towards the new community center. And then stop past the community center, and it'll just be a dead-end road and a guardrail like Morrison Way, but Dollar General.
Okay.
And one, that'll provide access back to the community center, and 2, it'll kind of create a stopping point if we ever want to connect it on back to Dollar General later.
What's the total grant of that?
Well, it's like a minimum match deal, so
Oh, okay.
it's kind of, the big part of that was understanding what we wanted and how much that's gonna cost, so that we can know if we can afford a match or not.
Okay.
And so I guess that's a good, the next finance meeting, we should discuss that.
It put the new tennis courts and a pickleball court. I think it's that one right there, maybe. We taped,
Yeah, perfect. So there's our entrance. A lot more parking.
Oh.
A road then that would connect and come out up here. And then we're gonna move the tennis courts and basketball courts there. The jail will still stay in the corner. And then actually, see this little
Yeah.
made up curb cut?
Mhm.
Have the parking that's planned for the grant at like $100,000 planned and put it here.
In the front.
Yeah, and then this building's gonna have to slide over, and Greg's working with,
With-
yeah, Matt and Casey at our one meeting we had, didn't think that was a huge deal, because you're really just like moving shit over.
Okay.
So, this is, I think a good idea, and also these two dugouts. So like, doing a lot of stuff with them.
I think what we liked was it was drawn to scale, so we could actually pick those ball diamonds up or
Right.
the tennis court.
That's pretty close to the
pickleball.
size.
And then just put it.
Same with this lot.
So we're moving.
Yep.
Yeah, it's from here to over here.
Okay.
And then you just would drive in and it'll continue back in here. And then the next line is looks like stopping point.
Okay.
This is expensive if we wanted to do this. This would chew up a lot of the grant money and probably what we're paying for it. And then we went over a couple other items. I don't think we ended up voting on anything that night. We went over, last probably more unimportant, concession stand rules. Haley, when she's got time, she committed to providing a plan and a description of the concession and an overview of the funds from the concession. Describe what the revenue will go to, with some being donated back to the village possibly, and then, Greg had mentioned someone tried to break into the building, so they reinforced the doors and the windows a little more. And, I think that's really all in what is.
So I see on here he wants to update the welcome shelter house.
That one is ready to go into the Park District as one of our choices. That was the third
Okay.
choice that you had chosen.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Was it the welcome or the shelter house?
Shelter House 1 was your first choice.
Okay. Oh, right,
2
okay.
were the dugouts.
Okay.
And 3 was that little welcome shelter with
Okay.
some additional
Okay.
benches.
Okay. Yeah, the shelter
That's
house
separate from
number
the Pine
one.
Belt, you're saying?
Yes.
Yeah.
Do I think we'll get the dugouts to the Park District? No. They don't have that kind of money. Now, maybe if they gave all of it to Macomb. So, thank you, Tyler. Is there a motion to approve those minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the Parks and Rec committee on August 27th.
One second.
Any questions?
Were there July 17th minutes that should be in here for approval too?
The July 17th was the one where, all of us were there and met with Paulette and that. And they brought those maps for the first time and we all had nice, great, big, good dreams.
I guess what was the follow-up of that when we walked away? We identified all these things to them, and
Right.
then what was gonna happen after that?
They
Do you
were to
remember?
get us, a more updated amount. Haley, excuse me, Haley did put together, all of the people that visit the park, for ball games. And I was in shock with the number of people that are at those games. I went through and added them all up for that grant. So it's under project 2. And then, do you know how many times they have the disc tournaments there? I need to get that information yet. But just alone with the high school softball, high school baseball, a spring softball, summer softball, a summer baseball, a fall co-ed, and the Uncle Charlie's tournament, that estimate is nearly 17,000 people at our park. 'cause she put down like the number of games, the number of players, so, and we just had her estimate like, spectators, you really don't know. And I said T-ball, you probably should have put 5 or 6 for every little one back there, but, so, that one was quite high, I was really surprised. Okay, did you call the roll on that yet? I didn't. Okay.
Mr. Brumbaugh.
Yes.
Mrs. Gill.
Yes.
Mrs. Clyde.
Yes.
Mrs. Fenstermaker.
Okay, any old business? Under new business, the Northwest Water and Sewer District sent out their municipal appointment for the board seat. There was only one person running, Mark Sheffer. If I recall, he was the president, had been down here a couple years ago. So his term is up, so I would like to have that vote and get this sent back to them. It's Mark, Sheffer, so if someone would like to make that motion.
He's currently,
Yeah, he's currently on there. I don't think he didn't provide a bio. And then we have to do the resolution for it.
this is just like a recommendation from what
Like
we
We
voted.
have to do a formal vote.
We don't have to do anybody though, correct? Because we didn't do it the one time check.
Right, but then they finally kept pressuring
He got
us.
endorsed from another community.
Yeah, he went
Yeah.
up to Weston.
Yeah.
Motion to move forth with the current.
Does anyone know him? No, he does a good
He
job.
was here, he's been on it for quite a while, one time, Maddie, I think he was a former English teacher somewhere.
I'll second.
Mr. Brumbaugh.
Yes.
Mrs. Clyde.
Yes.
Mrs. Fenstermaker.
Yes.
Mrs. Gill.
Yes.
Thank you. Any other new business? Okay, well, I'll pick on you, Jamie, since you're the only one on this side tonight.
Happy birthday to Mayor Schroll, birthday in September. She recognizes all of us, so I make sure she was recognized.
Yeah, I got a candy bar too.
The library friends auction, we were asking if the village would be willing to donate another pool pass. The donations are due by November 13th, and the auction will run from November 18th through December 12th. I've got another update, so if you.
You wanna wait till we know?
Let's just take care of it while we're here tonight, if we wanna, we've done it forever.
I'll make the motion for the pool pass for the library auction. Family pool pass.
A second.
Would you call the roll in, please?
Mrs. Fenstermaker.
Yes.
Mrs. Gill.
Yes.
Mr. Brumbaugh.
Yes.
Mrs. Clyde.
Yes.
Thank you.
And I'll have, I think it's Haley, she has it on her computer, so we can get that taken care of and get it down there. When do they start their baskets, I'm sorry?
The auction starts November 18th,
Okay.
and it runs through December 12th. All donations are due by November 13th, so that we have like a week to try to.
We'll just get it down there.
Okay, and then I have an email that I copied and shared with everybody from Matthew Pierce. I know Lisa Mansfield works with him in Finley. He is a like website and application developer, and he has a nice little email here. He said that there's things that he could offer to help out with as far as a website or an application goes, especially when it comes to scheduling events at the park with the shelter houses, the ball fields, the things like that. I told him I would share his information with everybody so that you guys could look through all of that. But I told him I wasn't sure we'd really move forward until maybe the community center was built and in, because then we might be nice to have some of extra assistance. But he had a list of a bunch of different things that he could offer, like if he had a point of sale system, so like the concession stand, or anything like that. So if you would like to meet with him and talk with him, I can call him and he'd be willing to come meet with us.
Thank you. Okay, Beth.
Okay, I'm gonna have another finance meeting, I'm losing track, so it's on the board.
18th.
We're assuming we need one. Melissa?
I don't think so.
You don't think so? Do we have anything else?
When do you
that
want to
we-
talk about
we
your
should do it.
community building?
Yeah, I think if we, if you can't make it, Melissa, that's fine.
I just meant I didn't I don't have anything for that,
Okay.
that month, yeah.
So the community center, we're gonna have to fork over some money, like either shortly after or down the road to finish that off. And we have to kinda know how much that's all gonna cost and how much money we are even capable of spending and pulling from. And then the item of that grant that's due in November, there's some like really huge changes that would be a huge impact to the park and probably the biggest change in investment since it was first put in, that we're gonna have to match for that grant. And, knowing how much that as well we could put forward. So there's two items.
Okay.
I think, kinda tied to planning and zoning
Sure.
as well, but.
Okay.
And the maximum for that grant is 500,000, just so
Right.
everybody knows. And that is what Lipsick committed to.
So they
theirs.
matched $500,000?
Just so everybody knows.
Okay.
So we will have a finance center on the 18th. Anything else, Pat?
Yeah, believe it or not, I had someone ask about the community garage sales.
I
Everybody
saw
was
that.
already on
I saw
Facebook.
that.
They wanted to start knowing when they should start saving their stuff.
Well, somebody said they need two of them.
Well,
Twice a
doing
year.
one.
Oh, I think Arlington's
That fall
doing a
volunteer.
fall one.
Are they doing a fall one? Oh, wow.
Fall
Somebody
volunteer.
would like to.
I
know, right?
I know.
Yeah, I'm a good provider. But I know we usually do it the third weekend of April. This coming in 2025, Easter is third weekend of April. So I was going to suggest it in January, but we can do it now. To have it the fourth weekend will be the last weekend of April. Is that okay with everybody? If we, I just want to make sure if I have the approval.
We need,
When?
we have to go to 25 here.
Yeah.
Fourth weekend, right? We can ask.
Yeah, Easter is late this year, so it does fall on, when I usually have it. Easter is
So
the
the
20th.
25th and 26th of
Yes,
April?
the 25th and 26th of April.
Or it would be the first weekend in May, right?
No, that's, Easter
that's
falls
what
on the
you're talking
20th, so it'll be
Oh,
the following
gotcha,
weekend. Yeah, if that's okay with anybody, I will let people know.
I think we just need to make a motion and move along with it, get it out there.
Okay.
It's either that or do you wanna do like closer to Mother's Day? Or no?
I had everybody wanted early, so
Yeah,
that's,
people
yeah,
liked-
so.
liked it early 'cause it's the first one.
The first one,
Okay.
yeah, so I just wondered what everybody wanted. When it comes to Mother's Day, I think a lot of people are out.
Okay. I know if the student group decides they wanna do that plant thing, like it's a little early for
Oh, yeah.
vegetables.
But
Maybe
they
do
could
that.
still do it another day, just
Yeah,
have a
that-
plant day later.
Right, Mother's Day would actually be good for that, because I
Mhm.
know that's,
Well,
maybe that's Saturday
Maybe you
or
guys could do a
something.
couple of them, maybe like during the garage sale, then you could do like some of the ferns and kind of the more Mother Day theme.
As I
and
say, I
then-
think I saw that there was a mom's one, that people might like.
Oh, yeah,
Flowers for Mother's
I'm looking
Day.
for moms.
550 down
I
at
do know
Amherst.
someone in Grand Rapids, Ohio. She's selling them.
Is she?
There's a bunch of kids selling them too, but
Oh,
they're
really?
kind of pricey through the schools.
Oh,
Bring
is that on
kids
my, oh,
that
yeah.
are selling them, like,
I bought a $25 bag of popcorn at Lowe's the other
So
day.
did I, I got the same
I
too.
heard about
I'm a Boy Scout, I was a Boy Scout, so I loved it, so I was like,
Yeah,
man,
that's
Right, I don't mind
I don't mind it.
Yeah, before that,
No,
Boy
it's
Scout
like
popcorn
those
is
are
really
big.
one up.
It was terrible.
So do you wanna set that date, go with it?
Yeah,
I
I'll
definitely-
motion for
Yeah.
the fourth weekend of April 2025.
Okay.
The second.
So that date again is the
26th.
25th and
Saturday.
25th and 26th.
25 and 26.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we can get her out there on Facebook and then
Yeah.
count down the days till they have to have all their stuff ready.
Mr. Bravo.
Yes.
Mrs. Estimator?
Yes.
Mrs. Clyde?
Yes.
Mrs. Gill?
Yes.
That is it for me. Thanks.
I don't have anything.
Tyler?
Zoning meeting next Wednesday, 6:30. And, I, wanted to discuss the 10th lot, the daycare that night will be one of the items. I've been thinking about that more and just a couple of things I wanted to mention to council, just bring up, just nothing bad, just, I have been thinking about it a lot. I don't know if you guys got the minutes, on the one page, you can kind of see what we revised that night. And I'm just worried, I guess, maybe it's not as bad since we eliminated, but if we keep it where it's at, if we ever want to connect that road later on, it's gonna be, obviously something would have to be done with it or modified a little bit. Because it goes in straight into Morrison Way, and then you're gonna have these spots on, if you kind of see where I said add 2 spots on the south side. So cars are gonna kind of come in, pull in, maybe it's not bad, I don't know, I'm probably overthinking it. But, long story short, I think if we're gonna do this, well, I would just try to get it up near the building and near the sidewalk if we can. And it's more for the reason of if we're selling this building and or property to these folks later on, which is probably gonna happen, or a high chance that they're gonna wanna make an offer down the road. We would then probably lose control of when and where and how like how quickly anything happens, because this is considered to be temporary. So like permanently, what's the solution? And if we sell it and it's not in our control anymore, it's gonna be, I think, a more difficult thing, maybe. I don't think it's gonna, in the grand scheme, be that much more to get it up near the building. And I know that they were worried about losing green space, potentially. I still think there would be room there. And you can, like a grassier place to go outside of the fenced in. Just a thought, something I wanna discuss. And the reason is they're like in the process of doing this, I don't want them to go too far if we think there's a better long-term solution here, now than later. So, something we're gonna discuss, something to think about. Because I believe we're gonna be paying for this, which is the second thing that I think we should politely approach the alts or the daycare, and I understand the changes down there to be their request, and they wanted those changes, which is great. But there is a cost associated to us, the village. And I feel like we're footing all the bill for their request. And we're a nonprofit doing this for a company that makes money. And I think if they wanted these changes, it's great, but if you'd be willing to help either get it in the form of increasing their rent until we get our money back, or something to think about. I think it's not unreasonable to approach them and say, this request has cost to the village, and we're gonna sell this off, and I don't know how much this is gonna be, but our rent of whatever it is, it's gonna be months or years before we get it back. We're looking at selling, so we could break even or have a little bit of a loss down there with this, if we don't get some help from them. They're a partner, and I think if we approach them the right way, they'd be willing to help.
It's my understanding from a text that Greg received, the alts have already paid for that base parking lot. The grant that they had received had to be finalized by August 31st.
So they are gonna put money forward for
They
this?
have paid what we had an estimate for originally, yes.
So they are putting money forward for this, in a grant or their, whatever, funding from something.
They have paid their taxes.
Do you know how much that was?
I could go back and pull Mr. Rincey's estimate. It's the one that there's a PO laying in there, is it?
Yeah, cause I was wondering why we didn't have a
11,
bill.
12,000
Yeah, I was gonna
something.
say, it's under 15, or right around 15.
But his grant had to be completed by August 31st, and he wanted to make sure.
Like an application?
No, the final.
Paid, yeah.
The final, that was that grant that had to be done so quick. And,
That was their grant,
yes,
that they were administering.
that 500,000. Yes.
So the village won't be paying for any of this financially, then? Is
We'll
that my
probably have to
understanding?
pay for the drawings down.
Would they be willing to, as part of their grant, put the whatever money they're getting and we pay whatever balances they get close to the building?
They may, I mean, we've already changed it because the original picture, as you recall, that we had 6 spots on this side, the drive in the middle, and 6 spots on that side. So we eliminated 4 of the spots, so there's some square footage. So I'm sure that they've been, I haven't
I think
had.
it's a better outcome for everybody.
I have not had a discussion with Mr. Alt, but Greg did show me that he had received a text from him, and he had asked, when is that parking lot going to go in, because he had put money for it in August.
So I guess if that's the case, why isn't he handling that all himself?
Pardon me?
If that is the case, I guess why isn't he's gonna hire the contractors and deal with all that?
Well, it's
Because if that's
still,
that doesn't sound like any village involved.
it's still our property, so yes, we have to have that final, and it has to go through your planning and zoning. But there is a lump of sum that's
And then
already.
after the site plan's approved, he takes it from there, it's his, from what I'm gathering.
That would be fine.
I guess it's not asking if it's fine, is that really the case? The village, cause I was understanding we were gonna have to pay for this.
No, we are not. I didn't know that he had paid for it. When we first had discussion, there was discussion of splitting it, but I received, Greg came in the other day and showed me a text that he had received from Mr. Alt.
I remember Greg
I think it
talking
was
about having
Friday.
somebody come back to do this, that was gonna
It
do all
is
the seeding.
the gentleman who had done the other work there.
Okay. What are your guys' thoughts on moving it up on the building?
I'm confused on a different situation. The PO that you guys are talking about, but we're not administering it, who's administering the money if we're not doing it? Sorry.
What will happen is, we will probably pay, and Mr. Alt will give us the
money
check.
back. Oh, that was, I was confused on why that was said, so, okay, sorry, Kelly. The moving the parking, I don't have.
Are we positive of that, or can we confirm that by the finance meeting?
I'm sure we can.
Okay.
I mean, it's still open. I don't have an invoice.
I
so
don't,
can't pay it.
no, there is no invoice because it's not been done yet.
Okay.
I don't know if Greg texted it to me. He's text, I told him waiting on site plan, this was Friday afternoon. Also, is there any update when Jake is going to get the staff parking done? I did send him a check for the full amount already to make sure I could use that towards our grant. So I would say that's Mr. Alt's words.
Do you think you could attend the meeting at Planning and Zoning?
He would like to
discussion?
come to a meeting and talk to all of us. But I can ask him if he can come to finance.
Do you think this is unreasonable to approach him about?
No.
Okay, I
No.
just wanna make sure
I
I'm
just,
stepping out of line.
I don't think we truly want it real close to the building. I can see moving it closer, but not right up to the sidewalk. There is no curb that had been put in on that sidewalk. At
I was
one
just gonna say that too, it's kinda, if I can speak up, it's kind of, a liability thing too with the kids, and if they would be walking somewhere and somebody would pull up and jump that, I mean, you have people that do that all the time, hit the wrong pedal, run into buildings. And if there was kids walking, and say they were walking to the pool or something like that, I'm just afraid if it's too close, it could be
Yeah,
a
I'm thinking
liability.
long-term down the road, though, if we connect that road, which I think is a goal, you're gonna have people just pulling in, making a sharp turn into a parking spot right there, potentially.
Well, at that point, if we do extend the road, couldn't we just make that, no longer a parking spot?
Not if we own the building, it won't be up to us.
Okay.
To
That's
me-
what I'm saying.
To me, it could
Do
look
you follow
very.
me, what I'm saying with that? Like, if we won't have any choice, we don't, that makes it
To
better.
me, it would look very similar to where we have our parking at the park for the pool. You leave some space behind and move them on up that way. At the pool, you're able to back up in that space you have before you enter the road. You don't, there's enough space there.
I guess I'm not following the comparison.
Out along the front of the park,
Yeah.
for the pool, you pull up there, or the park, all that. You pull up, it's set back enough that you can back out of your spot onto that extra space there before you pull into the drive. Or pull out on the road. I think if you made it very similar to that, that could all be a parking lot, and then you would have your road there, just like you do on 186.
From a construction and design standpoint, this is, you always pull up and you pull up on a sidewalk. In new construction, it's pretty normal. Doing what I'm suggesting, maybe I'm not describing it well. I'm not being insulting at all, can I show you what I'm talking about?
Sure.
And you're just, literally just putting it right up there. It's the same exact thing you have right along the
Yeah, it
front
would
of
be
the
the
building.
most.
Right.
So
The
we
front of the
know
building does have
how
that
the
in
pool
the
is
curve.
with our
So if you
general
gotta
fund,
replace
there's
this a little
open
bit,
space
I
there.
think it's just,
One
These are just my opinions, I'm not saying I'm right, it's better to do this long-term this way,
Right now,
I
it's
think.
just dirt.
Yes.
versus a temporary lot that's just stone that is against our zoning code.
So what,
I guess tell me
Would they-
why it's a bad idea, other than the kid thing.
the curb, because then you're gonna have to figure that whole sidewalk out and put a new curb in, right?
If you're doing all this work, I mean, you're gonna have to do something. I don't want a stone lot down there curving, do you?
No, I
So
didn't
you're gonna have
say
to.
stone lot, I'm talking curb type.
So
What,
we're-
what if, I apologize for
No, you're
interrupting.
fine.
What if we, instead of redoing the curb, is there any kind of addition when you go to do that parking lot, you can just kind of put like posts or something?
No,
To make sure
it's
that
not.
they can't drive onto that sidewalk,
It's-
you know what I'm saying?
It's, yes, but it's not, that's not really what the problem is.
Okay.
It's just the construction of the sidewalk and the asphalt button up to it. I don't wanna get into the weeds on that, but it just, the front of the building where the pull up and turn around is done that way, cause it was planned to be a sidewalk.
Okay.
This didn't have parking because we didn't plan to do this temporary lot. That's why it was just, it's just a normal 4-inch sidewalk. So it would have to get ripped out and redone.
It originally had a curb when the first crew put the sidewalk in. At one point,
Cause it had to get redone.
there had been discussion of down the road having a drive up and drop off on that side. But after the parking lot was done, the sidewalk got tore out, the new one was put in without a curb.
So the original drawing showed.
The
it turned
original
out good.
drawing did, but then because we said we're not going to have that pull up like that, because you couldn't come in and pull out, it was a thought for an addition down the road possibility at one time.
It doesn't relieve them from providing the obligations in those drawings. We can go over it more at the zoning meeting. Just, I'm thinking long-term, I'm not thinking, a stone lot is not a good long-term solution. And if they purchase it, we have no control over that. Making that.
Anything else, Tyler?
Nope. Thank you.
Student committee reports.
I I only have two things really. We're planning on doing a fall-oriented bake sale before Halloween and doing apple cider, and then hometown Christmas. Do we have a date?
December 1st. I believe
First,
it is.
okay. I still have to send out the email that you sent to the student organizations and get them all on board. And that's it.
Are you doing the lighted candles again or not? Do you know? Haven't really?
No.
Okay, 'cause I did see where, like, all the spots too were taken for that.
For the home
Yeah, if you'd
business.
wanna set up for a
For the
bake sale or
vendors,
some
for
kind
the
of
vendors.
fundraiser at Hometown Christmas again.
Okay.
Like, I would make sure you reach out to Lisa very soon.
Very soon, okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
Legislative this evening, we have some resolutions now.
Resolution R 2024-05, a resolution for approval of the Hancock County Budget Commission's alternative method for apportionment of undivided local government fund to be called Local Government Fund Alternative Method.
I'll make the motion to approve resolution 2024-05.
Second.
Oh, it's great, you don't have multiple readings.
No, one and done.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Brumbaugh?
Yes.
Mrs. Fenstermaker?
Yes.
Mrs. Gill?
Yes.
Mrs. Klein? Yes. Resolution R 2024-06, a resolution setting forth a spousal carve-out for group health insurance coverage for the village and for village employees.
Make a motion to approve resolution 2024-06.
Second.
My only comment on when I was reading it, I wanted to make sure that, so for whatever reason, a current employee has spousal coverage, that's fine, but if they decide to get rid of that spousal coverage and then try to add them, they would be able then to add them back again, correct?
Say that one more time.
So, Sarah has her husband on the insurance for the village, because Sarah is a village employee right now. For whatever reason, they determine or decide that they're gonna kick his husband off of their insurance, because they think he has a better deal with his current job, it's cheaper, whatever. So then later on, they decide that, no, I really want my husband to be back on the village insurance. At that point, that spouse would no longer be eligible, correct?
That's a question for.
Well, I would think not.
Yeah,
So
that's
they
what I
had
thought
it
too,
and
but-
denied it and tried another, and
Had
now
it,
coming in
but
under
they
new
got a
rules.
job that would maybe offer it, lost that job, and would need insurance again.
Cause it would be a
But
life
that'd be a
event.
life-changing event
If they
the
lost their
husband
job.
lost his
If-
job.
Yeah, cause then you wouldn't have insurance
Right.
offered.
Yeah.
That would be a yes, but if it's
Yeah.
just
But if he's doing it just for the money and something changes, no,
Yeah.
you couldn't bring him.
I just wanna make
Yeah,
sure
it
that
wouldn't
that's
fit
how.
that life event.
And like also, Haley got married Saturday, I
Yeah.
made it there. And let's say her husband now wants to join, because she was a current employee before, he can come on ours. Just
Yeah, 'cause it's new employees.
new employees. Give a motion on that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's,
Yep. Mr. Brumbaugh?
Yes.
Mrs. Gill?
Yes.
Mrs. Fenstermaker?
Yes.
Mrs. Klein?
yes.
Resolution R 2024-07, a resolution accepting the amounts and rates as determined by the Budget Commission and authorizing the necessary tax levies and certifying them to the county auditor.
Make a motion to approve resolution 2024-07.
A second.
Mrs. Fenstermaker?
Yes.
Mrs. Klein?
Yes.
Mr. Brumbaugh?
Yes.
Mrs. Gill?
Yes. Okay, thank you. Now you have reports, 33 through 55, or 33 through 65, any questions? Greg laid his report out. Number one, he had a couple of them highlighted here. That is the condition of the old VFW that was brought up. Evidently, the gentleman received the letter and then contacted Greg. He is having a company come and remodel it, and he's going to put it up for sale again. And he must have got after Greg telling us that the village allowed squatters in his building, but